I'm Riley, 32, and if you'd told me a year ago that my life would look like this, I would have laughed in your face. I was the queen of the curated Facebook life. Arnold and I were the picture of suburban bliss. High school sweethearts, married, house in a good school district, daughter named Lily, annual Christmas card, the whole 9 yards. Predictable? Maybe. Comfortable? Absolutely. And then Michael reappeared. Michael's my ex from college. We were pretty serious for a couple of years, but our paths diverged. He was chasing his career, and frankly, I wasn't ready to be a high-powered executive's wife. So, when that friend request popped up, I accepted without a second thought. We're grown-ups, right? He was incredibly respectful, always asking about Arnold, even making an effort to be friendly, which honestly struck me as a little odd. Most exes are the definition of toxic, but Michael, he'd leave genuinely nice comments on our family photos, suggest golf with Arnold. It was almost too much. Arnold pretended to be cool with it at first, but I started noticing these little digs. A look when I'd laugh at Michael's online comments or a pointed question when I mentioned running into him at Target. He'd say things like, "Don't you think it's weird how much he's around?" Or, "Maybe some boundaries are in order?" And I'd just roll my eyes. Seriously? Threatened by a little friendly chatter? I told him he was imagining things. Michael's a successful marketing director, practically married to his job, not interested in stirring things up. And Arnold? He has his secure accounting job, is a great father to Lily, never really causes me any trouble. Okay, so maybe I checked Michael's profile more often than I should have. And yes, sometimes I couldn't help comparing their lives, Michael jetting off to conferences and charity events, while Arnold's biggest excitement was his fantasy football league. But in my mind, I kept telling myself, Arnold's not going anywhere. Where would he go anyway? He's content, settled. Maybe too settled, if you ask me. So whenever he brought up his concerns about Michael, I just reminded him how good he had it. "At least my ex wants to be friends with you," I'd say, a little smugly. Most guys would kill for that kind of relationship. He'd just give me this look, especially when I told him Michael was coming to our neighborhood barbecue. But hey, if he wanted to be insecure, that was his problem. I wasn't doing anything wrong. That's what I told myself anyway. Looking back, I realize how completely blind I was. I thought I was in control, holding all the cards. I had no idea the whole carefully constructed house of cards was about to collapse. It all ramped up when Michael joined our neighborhood Facebook group. Suddenly, we were having these chance encounters at Starbucks after he commented on a post I made about needing coffee recommendations. Arnold definitely noticed. I could see the forced smile whenever I mentioned grabbing lunch with Michael, or when Michael sent one of those golf invitations that Arnold always found a reason to decline. "It's like he's trying too hard," Arnold said one night after Michael sent him another friend request. "Don't you think it's strange how he's suddenly everywhere?" I just laughed it off, like always. "Oh my God, you're being so paranoid. He's just being friendly. Most guys would die if their wife's ex was this cool about everything." But Arnold wouldn't let it go. He started pointing out the little things. How I would drop everything to answer Michael's texts, even during family movie nights. How I'd somehow managed to bring Michael into every conversation. Michael's promotion, Michael's new car, Michael's charity work. It was getting annoying, honestly. Like, sorry my ex actually did something interesting with his life while you're still stuck in the same job you got right out of college. The real blow-up happened after Michael posted about needing a +1 for a charity gala he was hosting. I left a harmless comment, something like, "Sounds amazing. Wish I could help." The next thing I knew, Arnold was giving me the third degree about inappropriate boundaries and disrespecting our marriage. "You really don't see what you're doing, do you?" he asked, like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. "How would you feel if I was acting this way with my ex?" And that's when I lost it. "Please," I snapped. "Katie from high school who got fat and sells essential oils? That's hardly the same thing as Michael. He's successful, mature, actually has his life together." I immediately regretted saying it. the look on Arnold's face. He just turned around and walked out of the room, but in my head, I still didn't think I was doing anything wrong. Michael and I? We were just friends. So what if we shared a private language of inside jokes, the kind only we truly understood? And okay, maybe I saved some of his funnier Instagram posts. They just made me laugh. And all right, perhaps I put a little extra effort into my appearance when I knew I might bump into him at the gym. But Arnold's jealousy was unwarranted, I told myself. In fact, his insecurity was actually starting to make Michael seem even more appealing by comparison. Honestly, Sarah, I vented over a glass of wine, Arnold's blowing this completely out of proportion. Michael's just being a nice guy. He even invited Arnold to join his fantasy football league. It's not my fault Arnold's too intimidated to even give it a shot. Sarah gave me that look, the one I'd been noticing more and more lately. Riley, are you sure this is about Arnold being insecure? She asked, her voice carefully neutral. Because from where I'm sitting, I cut her off before she could finish. From where you're sitting, what? I'm married. I chose Arnold, didn't I? If he can't handle me having a perfectly harmless friendship with Michael, then that's his problem, not mine. Looking back now, I should have heeded those unspoken warnings, the subtle shifts in behavior. I should have paid attention when our mutual friends' conversations would falter when I brought up Michael's name. I should have seen the writing on the wall when Arnold began consistently working late, dedicating more time to the gym, and seemingly caring less about my opinions. But I was too consumed with proving my own point, too blinded by my own conviction, to realize I was standing on the precipice of losing everything. The next few months became a strange and unsettling game of chicken. Arnold started consistently working later hours, dedicating more and more time to the gym, and offering barely any reaction when I'd mention Michael. And Michael, ever present, seemed to pop up everywhere, sending Arnold lengthy messages about wanting to forge a genuine friendship and extending invitations to both of us for every event he hosted. It was as if he was trying to prove something, portraying the role of the perfect gentleman, while Arnold just grew more and more distant from me. Fueled by some misguided impulse, I grew bolder with my Facebook posts, sharing throwback Thursday photos from our college days, intentionally selecting those where Michael and I looked particularly attractive together. I commented on all of his business updates with exaggerated praise. "So proud of you, always knew you'd crush it." The likes and comments poured in from everyone else, but from Arnold there was radio silence. He wouldn't even acknowledge my posts anymore. "I just don't understand why you're acting this way." I finally confronted him one night after he bailed on another dinner where Michael was scheduled to be. "He's putting in all this effort to be friends, and you're behaving like a child." Arnold simply looked at me, his voice unsettlingly calm. "Do you ever actually listen to yourself when you talk about him?" "What's that supposed to mean?" I challenged. "Last week at dinner with your parents, you brought up Michael 17 times. I counted." I rolled my eyes so dramatically, I probably strained something. "Oh my God, you're literally counting? That's not weird and controlling at all." "You compare us constantly," he continued, his voice still maintaining that infuriatingly calm tone. "My job, my clothes, my friends, even my hands. Do you really think I'm blind or just stupid? Maybe if you weren't so insecure, you changed your gym schedule to match his," I retorted, deflecting. "We're friends. Friends work out together. You hide your phone when I walk by because you're paranoid about what I'll see." He just shook his head slowly. "I saw your texts, Riley." My stomach did a little flip-flop of panic, but I quickly regained my composure. "Oh, so now you're spying on me. Real mature, Arnold. This is exactly why Michael's so much more—" I caught myself mid-sentence, but Arnold's face betrayed that he'd heard the unspoken words anyway. "So much more what?" His voice was barely audible. "Successful? Confident? Bigger?" I should have shut my mouth. I should have apologized. I should have done anything other than what I actually did, which was let out a brittle, nervous laugh and say, "Well, if the shoe fits." Arnold stood up, grabbed his keys, and walked out the door. I immediately posted about it on Facebook in a pathetic attempt to garner sympathy and justify my actions. Some people just can't handle strong friendships. Michael liked it within minutes, validating my self-serving narrative. Arnold didn't come home that night. The next morning, my phone was inundated with messages. Apparently, Arnold had finally accepted one of Michael's persistent invitations. They were getting breakfast together, just the two of them. A strange, unsettling panic began to churn in my stomach, a feeling I desperately tried to ignore. I posted another throwback picture of Michael and me from college, adding some cloying caption about how true friendships stand the test of time. But something felt terribly off. Michael didn't like it this time. Arnold didn't react at all, and my notifications were suspiciously quiet. I didn't realize it then, but that seemingly innocuous breakfast would irrevocably alter the course of everything. I was so caught up in this ridiculous game of making Arnold jealous, so obsessed with proving I could juggle both him and Michael, that I completely missed the looming disaster. Honestly, it was about to explode like a bomb. The neighborhood barbecue was usually our thing. Arnold would man the grill, I'd whip up my famous potato salad, and Lily would be off playing with the other kids. But this time, Michael was there. Turns out Arnold had invited him. They were suddenly best buddies, chatting about sports and work as if they'd been inseparable since kindergarten. It made my teeth grind. A few glasses of wine later, someone mentioned running into an ex at Whole Foods. I couldn't resist jumping in. You know what's great? How Michael and I are so mature about everything. We're actually friends, right, Michael? A really uncomfortable silence settled over the patio. Arnold was just staring into his beer, and even Michael looked uneasy for once. Then Arnold said it, so quiet, but everyone definitely heard. "Yeah, especially when you're still in love with him." My wine glass nearly slipped out of my hand. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." Arnold's voice was calm, but his eyes were locked on mine. "We all see it, Riley. Every post, every text, every accidental run-in. You're not exactly subtle." Something inside me just snapped. If he wanted to do this right here in front of everyone, fine. "Oh, you really want to go there? Let's go there. You want to know what people are actually seeing? They're seeing how Michael outshines you in every way." "You want me to spell it out? Let's start with the obvious, salary. He makes triple what you do pushing those boring spreadsheets around. House? Try a penthouse downtown while you're still daydreaming about a pool. Hands? Please, there's no contest. Biceps? He doesn't need to slave away at Planet Fitness to look good. Friends? Everyone genuinely enjoys being around him. Dreams? He's not stuck in some dead-end accounting job just shuffling numbers. Do you want me to keep going? Because, honey, I could go on all night about how much bigger and better he is than you." Arnold just sat there, with this totally defeated look on his face, and it just fueled my anger even more. What's wrong? Isn't this the honesty you wanted? Should I mention how much bigger his... "Riley," Sarah tried to stop me, but I was on a roll. I couldn't stop myself. No, let's put it all out there. Michael's superior in every single aspect. Confidence, ambition, success, and yeah, other things too. Correct me if I'm wrong, Arnold. Oh, wait, you can't, because we all know it's the truth. Want me to continue? Because there's plenty more where that came from. Arnold slowly stood up, took Lily's hand, and started walking towards the house. Our neighbor Karen was covering her kids' ears. Sarah was shaking her head like I was crazy. Even Michael looked disgusted, like I was displaying a side of me he had never seen before. "What?" I yelled after Arnold, my voice sharper than I intended. "You preach about honesty, and I'm just telling you what everyone else is already thinking. At least Michael has the guts to hear it." The party Keifen died faster than a punctured balloon after that. As people trickled out, I caught snippets of hushed conversations. Unbelievable what she said. Poor Arnold. That was harsh. Honestly, they all needed a dose of reality. Later that night, the silence in our house felt oppressive, so I texted Michael. Coffee? Need someone who gets it. His reply. That's when everything shifted. We need to talk about boundaries. We met at that 24-hour diner, the one we practically lived in back in college. Michael looked different somehow, weary around the eyes. Before he could even speak, I blurted out, Arnold's being impossible. He cornered me into saying those things. He's never understood me the way you do. I reached across the table, wanting to feel that familiar connection. Remember how great we were together? Michael recoiled as if I'd shocked him. Riley, just stop. You're married. You have Lily, and you just mortified your husband in front of everyone we know. He deserved it. He's the one who... Michael's voice was firm, leaving no room for argument. He didn't deserve any of that, and frankly, I'm starting to feel like I played a part in creating this situation. I laughed, trying to sound casual, unaffected. What situation? We're just friends, right? Are we, Riley? Because friends don't do what you pulled tonight. Friends don't constantly size up their husbands against their exes. Friends don't engineer chance encounters or send suggestive texts in the middle of the night. I've seen the way you look at me, Riley, the little remarks, the nostalgic photos, the constant need to prove something. I let it slide because, I don't know, maybe I like the attention. But after witnessing what you did to Arnold tonight, I can't be your safety net or your ego boost anymore. My chest tightened. What are you saying? I'm saying you need to salvage your marriage, or don't, but quit using me as an excuse to wound someone who genuinely cares about you. You don't understand, I insisted, the words tumbling out in a rush. Arnold and I, we're just not right for each other anymore. He's not the one for what, Riley? For you? The woman who publicly shamed him for not measuring up? Do you even hear the absurdity of what you're saying? The diner's fluorescent lights suddenly seemed too harsh, too revealing. So, you're taking his side? Michael stood, dropping cash on the table for his untouched coffee. There aren't any sides here, Riley. Just a woman who can't value what she has because she's so busy clinging to what she thinks she lost. He hesitated at the door. Try finding happiness in your marriage instead of demolishing it to prove some twisted point. After that night, my life started to unravel thread by thread. Michael distanced himself, not blocking me, but leaving my messages unanswered, declining every invitation. Arnold completely shut down, communicating only through his lawyer. I started posting vague, cutting Facebook updates about people showing their true colors and knowing your worth, but the likes dwindled. My friend list seemed to shrink every day. Even Sarah, my so-called best friend, turned on me. You need help, Riley. What you said at that barbecue, it wasn't just mean, it was malicious, and now you're acting like you're the victim. I tried to brush it off. Everyone's so sensitive these days. I was just being honest. Honest? She looked at me like I'd grown a second head. The truth is, you're still hung up on your ex and you basically destroyed your marriage to prove some crazy point. And for what? Michael doesn't even want you. That stung, but instead of admitting she was right, I stubbornly doubled down, posting more old photos, sending more unanswered messages, trying to accidentally bump into Michael at his usual spots, but he'd changed his routines. Meanwhile, Arnold's lawyer sent the divorce papers, and suddenly this wasn't some pathetic game anymore. This was real, and I was losing everything. I thought I'd at least get the house in the divorce, or primary custody, or decent alimony, but karma's apparently a real thing, because the judge took one look at our case and practically laughed me out of the courtroom. Apparently, those Facebook posts were considered prime evidence of emotional abuse, and that barbecue meltdown? Unforgivable. The statements everyone wrote after everything, felt like nails in a coffin I was still very much alive in. The timestamps on those late-night texts with Michael, those were like a scarlet letter I couldn't tear off. Now, this cramped two-bedroom feels like a prison cell, while Arnold gets to play house with Lily full-time. The measly child support barely buys groceries. He somehow convinced the court he's the poster child for parental stability. I get supervised visits on weekends, treated like I'm a danger to my own daughter. Meanwhile, Arnold's living the dream. Senior accountant, a new house in that cookie-cutter development near the good school, and dating this picture-perfect yoga instructor, Emma, who Lily is head over heels for. "She makes the best chocolate chip pancakes, Mommy," Lily gushed last weekend, "and she helps me with my math. She says Daddy's really good at numbers, too." Great. Just twist the knife a little deeper. Michael's polite enough at school events, but there's this glacial distance between us now. He's dating some Ice Queen pharmaceutical rep who looks like she walked straight out of a magazine. They do couples CrossFit or some other similarly insufferable activity. I heard through the grapevine that he told someone, "Riley taught me a valuable lesson about boundaries." Fantastic. Glad my life imploding served as his personal growth seminar. Everyone's quick to say I got what I deserved. Sarah flat out told me, "You chose chaos and you lost." Even my own mother is on Team Arnold, raving about what a wonderful father he is and how lucky Lily is to have Emma in her life. My therapist, the one the court basically forced me to see, keeps pushing me to examine my patterns of behavior. But they don't get it. I pushed Arnold to be better. All those comparisons to Michael, they lit a fire under him. That barbecue blow-up, that finally forced him to grow a spine. If he'd just been this version of himself when we were together, confident, successful, willing to stand up to me, I wouldn't have kept romanticizing things with Michael. And the worst part? I saw them together last week at Lily's school conference, Arnold and Emma, looking like they were plucked from the cover of some lifestyle magazine. He's lost weight, got a trendy haircut, wearing clothes that actually fit him. He seemed bigger. Not physically, but like he was taking up more space, owning his life. He wasn't even nervous around me anymore. Emma smiled at me. Actually smiled, like she wasn't threatened by my mere existence. And me? I'm still obsessively checking both their profiles at 2 a.m., watching their lives blossom while I'm stuck in relationship purgatory. My last 3 dates ghosted me after Googling me. Apparently, the barbecue incident became a viral sensation in the local Facebook groups. Wonderful. So yeah, that's how I ended up here. Single, semi-homeless, and watching my ex-husband thrive while my other ex won't even acknowledge my drunken late-night texts. They all say I need to work on myself before I can move on, but they just don't understand. I didn't lose Arnold because I was still hung up on Michael. I lost them both because they couldn't handle my bluntness. At least, that's what I tell myself in the dark, alone in this apartment, while Arnold's living his best life and Michael's posting gym selfies with his new girlfriend. But sometimes, in the quiet hours when sleep evades me, I wonder if maybe, just maybe, I was the architect of my own downfall. Not that I'd ever admit that out loud.